Hey everybody, welcome back to the SuperBake podcast. I'm your host, Baker. Let's talk about stuff. Well, it's official. I think I am addicted to Persona 5. I started playing that game a little over a week ago. It's been in my backlog for a long time. It was one of the games that was free with the PlayStation Plus subscription, so I just picked it up. Or not the subscription, but I think if you got the PS5, I think it was one of those games that they had in their catalog that was like free, so I just snagged it and I never downloaded it. I just had it in my library and I've just been playing it. Oh man, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, at first I wasn't 100% sure like I was getting what was so great about that game. I was kind of like, oh, okay, it's interesting, it's different. I mean, I like the style and I love the music, but I got about 5 hours into it. Once I kind of got to the point where I could explore Kamoshida's palace and fight some of the shadows in there or the personas, that was when I was like, okay, I dig it. So I'm I almost kind of wish I'd picked up Royal, because I heard that one is essentially like it's the better edition of 5, and I think it has more quality of life improvements, but this game was free, so I just figured I'd go with Persona 5 just because I figured if I didn't like it, no big deal, it didn't cost me anything, so it wasn't the end of the world, but those fears can be laid to rest. It's really good. It kind of makes me want to play more Persona, honestly. Kind of wish I'd gotten into the series earlier, kind of like the East series. Well, anyways, wanted to take some time today to talk about the new trailer for Dune Part 2 that dropped earlier last week. So the release date for it, I believe, is November 3rd this year, and I'm excited for this one. Saw the first one back in 2021, I think, when it came out. Fantastic movie. Easily one of my favorite movies that I've seen in a long time. I need to get it on Blu-ray. I still need to pick it up. I don't buy movies on Blu-ray hardly anymore. I just watch them on streaming, honestly. I don't buy movies like I used to. I don't know if that's just me or if anybody else out there is like that. I don't own very much physical copies of movies anymore. And I'm kind of starting to move that way towards games too. I feel like I find myself buying more digital copies of games now than physical ones. But regardless, yeah, I loved Dune 2021. That was the first movie I saw in theaters after the pandemic, and it was phenomenal. Absolutely worth seeing in theaters, and I think this is going to be just the same. Yeah, this trailer looks awesome. I mean, when that soundtrack, Gom Jabbar by, I hope that's how you say the name, by Hans Zimmer starts playing, God, that soundtrack is going to be iconic. I swear, it is so good. Just every time it plays, it just gives me goosebumps. It's so perfect. And especially when they play that like right at the end with the Dune title that pops up. God, that's high quality cinema right there. And this definitely looks like it's going to be just as good as the first one, if not better. So I have read the first 3 Dune books. I've read Dune through Children of Dune. I have not read the last 3. I need to, though. I want to pick up God Emperor Dune. I think once I'm done with the Fire and Blood book from Game of Thrones, I'll probably start reading Dune again, because I do really enjoy those novels a lot. But I know that these movies are going to be, it's basically the first book split into 2 parts. So the first half, and spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Dune 2021, that movie follows the first half of the book, where we're introduced to Paul Atreides, House Atreides, and the dispute they have with House Harkonnen, as well as we see the betrayal of Paul's father, we see his murder, and we see Paul and his mother trying to escape from the Harkonnen Empire, and they meet up with the freemen that live on Arrakis, and Paul is trying to prove himself to them, as well as we see him meet up with the character Chani in the story. I never knew how you pronounced her name. I couldn't remember how they pronounced it in the movie. It's been a while since I've watched it, but yeah, that's the essentially roughly the first half of the book, and then the second half is where this movie is going to be taking place, where we're going to see more of Paul's becoming like the leader of the Freemen, as well as having his big confrontation with Baron Harkonnen and his army. So it looks really, well, number one, the cinematography just looks pretty much like you would expect from the first movie. A a lot of Arrakis, a lot of desert planets. Really like that a lot. Love the look of it. One other thing about this movie that I like a lot was, I didn't know this because I haven't followed this very closely, but Austin Butler is going to be in this movie as well, as I never can pronounce his character's name. Feud Rautha. And then Florence Pugh, because she's in everything right now, as Princess Irulan. And what I like about her character in this is we see her, it looks like in the trailer, she's recording her thoughts on like Paul Atreides. And one point in the trailer, we see her ask the question, like, is Paul Atreides alive? And in the first book, I remember there are excerpts in the book in the beginning of each chapter where it's Princess Irulan, basically, we kind of see like her thoughts. It's things that she is saying. And when it shows her recording her messages on that little device, I'm kind of wondering if this is supposed to be the filmmaker's way of doing that. I thought that was interesting, even though we didn't really see any of that in the first movie. That is an interesting way, I think, to bring her into this. Yeah, Florence Pugh, she's in everything right now. The funny thing is, I haven't seen a lot of what she's in. Like, I didn't see Don't Worry, My Darling. I didn't see Midsummer. I believe she's in there. I've not seen Black Widow yet, but I would like to see that movie at some point. But I know she's kind of getting big right now. But she's in this movie, of course. Timothée Chalamet returning as Paul Atreides, as long as Zendaya as Chani, Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica, and of course Josh Brolin reprising his role as Gurney Halleck, and Javier Bardem as Stilgar, and Dave Bautista in his role as well. And Dave Bautista, man, I think he was the perfect fit for his role in this one. If nothing else, just for his demeanor. He just has such an imposing figure about him in the Dune series. I saw him in the new Guardians 3 movie. I'll be doing a review of that. That'll probably be the next episode coming up, just speaking of Dave Bautista. But I don't want to get too off track here. We see more of Lady Jessica. It looks like she's taken more of a leadership role and kind of gone into more of the Bene Gesserit role. She seems like she has more tattoos on her face in this, so it seems like we're going to see a little bit more of that as she kind of operates behind the scenes, kind of working with Paul to take down the Harkonnens. We get to see, I think there's a small glimpse of Stellan Skarsgård reprising his role of Vladimir Harkonnen in this one. So I'll be glad to see him in this again. I like the actor Stellan Skarsgård, and in the first movie, he was just so phenomenally great. Such a deliciously disgusting evil villain. The way he floats, I think they captured that perfectly. It was pretty much how I always pictured him in the books, the way he, like, just his big fat body, the way he kind of like hovers everywhere because he's so bloated he can't really walk. And I think they captured that really well in the first movie, in part one. I've seen bits of the 1984 film, and I feel like I watched most of it when I was little, and that was before I really had read the books or had any kind of appreciation for them. So a lot of it kind of went over my head, but I think I kind of knew it even at a young age that the 1984 version was kind of not good. But these movies are great. I don't know how far they're going to take this. Like, I would assume, depending on how, I thought Villeneuve said that if this film does well, he's going to try to make more movies. I would love to see Dune Messiah and Children of Dune made into films. I mean, I'd love to see the entire series get adapted, but like, man, especially once you start getting into the weirder metaphysical shit in Dune, like especially like in Children of Dune with Leto Atreides the second, and his whole thing with the sandworms on Arrakis. Man, that's the shit that I want to see. Especially if they start getting into like God or Emperor Dune territory. I said Doom. Man, if they start getting into that shit, that's going to be weird, but also badass. I'm really curious to see that. I feel like if we can get into like the Marvel multiverse stuff and Secret Wars, this shouldn't be super, I don't know, out of the question for Hollywood. I like Austin Butler too as his Harkonnen character. He definitely looks really imposing in this film. There's a scene where we see him kind of in sort of a gladiator fighting in, I'm assuming it's another Harkonnen person. It's hard to tell. I can't tell if they have the same bald head as his. You don't get to see a whole lot of them in there. Also interesting too, in those scenes, they're in black and white. I'm kind of curious why they did that. It looks cool, and I think for his character with his pale complexion, it looks interesting. It's funny, the way he looks with that makeup, he almost kind of makes me think of Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, just because he has in those black and white scenes, his face is, it's like liquid paper white, so it almost kind of looks like Bill Skarsgård when he has his clown makeup on, minus like the colorful parts of his makeup. So that was just kind of something that I noticed. But all the scenes he's in, he looks very commanding in them. Kind of like Florence Pugh, he's popping up in a lot of movies right now. I think a lot of that's because of just his success with the Elvis biopic that he was in, which I haven't seen yet. To be honest, I'm not really super interested in that. I do see Christopher Walken is tagged to play Shaddam IV, the Emperor. Again, it's been a while since I've watched the first one, and I only saw it the one time, but I don't believe the Emperor shows up in part one at all. I don't even think we really see any of him in there, which we don't really see any of him in the books, at least from what I've read so far in the first 3 or so. He's kind of more in the background. I feel like maybe he's mentioned a couple times, but mostly he kind of operates in the background. He's kind of like a off-screen villainous character for the most part. We see mostly it's the Harkonnens that we see more in the foreground in this story, so at least from what I've read so far. But yeah, I can't wait to see this movie. Yeah, this is going to be one that I'm going to make sure to see in theaters. Like, I made it a point to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3 in theaters. This is going to be probably at least the other movie I see in theaters this year. I don't know how many others there's going to be, but this is definitely going to be one of them. So November 3rd is the release date. I'm super excited about this. This looks like it. I mean, I think the first one did pretty well in theaters. I don't remember like how well it did in terms of the box office. I'm actually going to look that up right now because I'm kind of curious. I wasn't going to look that up before the podcast, but now I kind of want to know. I mean, I know pretty much everything was riding on that first movie being a success, whether or not this was going to turn into a long-running series, and I think pretty much it cemented its way into, like sci-fi cinematic history as being a worthwhile movie. But I really liked it a lot. Yeah, let's see. Go to the wiki page. I'm just really curious to know like what it did in the global box office. The first movie did. Okay, $165 million budget. I'm surprised it wasn't bigger. Box office was $402 million. Was that worldwide? Huh. I figured it would have made a lot more than that. That's crazy. Let's see. Yeah, because it was originally supposed to come out in 2020, but then, of course, the pandemic happened, so that got messed up. Okay, well, interesting. I'm just kind of curious. Future. Okay, we have part 2 coming out later this year. Villeneuve expressed interest in making a third film based on Dune Messiah, saying that it's possibly depending on the success of Dune Part 2. Okay, so God, I would love to see that. I really want to see Dune Messiah and Children of Dune. At the very least, I would love to see the first 2 books, or the first 3 books get adapted. If they could do that, that would be so awesome. So yeah, hopefully this does well. I guess what I'm trying to say is go see this movie. Let's just make this happen. Let's make this a success. There's no doubt in my mind it's going to be good. It's Denis Villeneuve. It's the same people who worked on the first one, the same actors and everything, as well as a few newer ones to just pump up the talent of the film. I mean, yeah, we need to see this movie in theater, people. We need to see this movie and make this happen. Make the Dune series a really commanding series, because I really do think in the right hands, Dune could be like the new Star Wars. It could be like a modern day sci-fi epic. And I feel like the first one definitely had the feeling of that. I feel like it's there. I was very nervous going into it that it wasn't going to have that draw, but it definitely did. I felt like Villeneuve really captured it with part 1, and part 2, at least from the trailer, from what I've seen so far, it looks like it has the makings of that. So I am ecstatic to see this movie, and I cannot wait for November to get here so I can watch it. But what did you guys think of the new Dune trailer? Did you like it? Does it have you as excited for the new movie as me? Feel free to share your thoughts on my channel on YouTube. So something else I wanted to talk about a little bit today was, because this is something that's been kind of floating around a lot on other podcasts that I've seen as well as talk shows, is the use of AI, artificial intelligence, and how it seems to be progressively advancing today. You have programs like ChatGPT, which I have used a little bit, OpenAI.com. I've used the program a little bit just to kind of mess around, see if I could break it. It's been kind of interesting. And I know that there's a lot of fears right now circulating. Like I see online, a lot of CEOs think that AI is going to replace thousands of jobs, probably here in the next, few years, like very, very soon. I know I saw a while back, there were a few articles about, I think gaming journalists could potentially see some of their job opportunities decrease or diminish at the very least because of AI. Because I guess right now a lot of AI, particularly software that can write research papers and articles, can actually write journalism pieces that for the most part seem pretty genuine. Like if you didn't know better, you almost wouldn't be able to tell the difference between an AI written paper and one written by an actual human. So this has caused a lot of interesting controversy and conversations to take place. A lot of people kind of arguing that, is this going to eliminate a lot of jobs out there? Is this going to put a lot of people out of work? And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit concerned about it. I'm an artist. I like to draw a lot. If you've seen my videos on YouTube, you've seen, my thumbnail is one that I designed. I haven't lately, but I do want to start trying to bring more of my artwork into my podcast again. Try to maybe design new thumbnails and background images just to kind of spice things up a little bit. It's hard to find the time to do that. But that's where AI can come into play. AI can generate some of those images. I know what is it called? Is it Dolly 2? There's a lot of AI image generators out there. I've seen people on YouTube use them all the time, sometimes to hilarious effect. But they can use them to generate images, sometimes almost photorealistic images, in a matter of seconds. These programs can create artwork that would take a normal human like me like hours or even days to do, and they can do it in like a matter of minutes. I do see that it is kind of limited sometimes. I know I've seen some channels on YouTube like where I'll see artists try to do sort of like a friendly competition with AI, and they'll try to like compare their artwork to it and see like how it works. And I know sometimes some of those image generators have a hard time with things such as hands. There was one channel, I think it was it Totally Not Mark on YouTube, who I really like, by the way. I love his channel. His analysis on like anime like One Piece and Dragon Ball Z is phenomenal. If you haven't checked out his channel, definitely do so. He's awesome to listen to. But he had one where he and his some of his associates on his channel were actually doing, I guess, kind of comparisons between their artwork and AI, and they were doing a lot of Dragon Ball Z illustrations. And for the most part, I think that they did a better job, but the AI was also pretty good as well. But I noticed like the AI the way it would draw characters' hands was very odd. I guess it's for some reason it has a hard time capturing fingers. I've seen that happen on other channels too on YouTube, and it's really bizarre. Like faces, it seems to get down pretty well, but it always seems to be hands where it has the greatest difficulty. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just because hands in general are difficult to draw, or if the AI has trouble like, I don't know, capturing the image from certain angles. It's hard to describe. I keep moving my hand like you guys can see what I'm doing. I have no idea why I'm doing that. But yeah, that's something that I've thought about doing too. I've actually thought about just trying to find an AI art generator program and just comparing it to my artwork and see like, what we could do. Like if we both, how we both would draw like a character from Dragon Ball Z or an apple or just something simpler. I don't know, maybe somewhere down the road I might consider doing that. But anyways, yeah, this has led to a lot of interesting conversations that I have also had with some of my friends out there as far as AI goes. And it's interesting because one of the things I keep hearing some people make arguments for is, just learn to code. If you learn to code, you're guaranteed to have a job, when AI starts to take over, like when it advances. It's like, but I thought about that. I'm like, well, AI is code, isn't it? And now, granted, I'm not a tech guy, and I don't have a degree in engineering, nor do I have any background in it. But like, isn't AI code? Wouldn't coding be one of the first things AI could potentially learn how to do? To me, that seems like it would be the easier way to do it. In fact, one of my buddies, I think his brother is a software engineer, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he had said that he had asked one of those programs, I think it was ChatGPT, to write code, and it had done it pretty accurately. So to me, that almost indicates that like AI could absolutely do that. I almost feel like jobs that require like a lot of math and engineering type skills would be I feel like AI would be pretty well suited for those. Yes, I'm sure it would have limitations, of course. You'd need to have, actual human experts on hand to make sure that it doesn't, screw up everything. But I don't see why that would be out of the realm of possibility. I always find that interesting. They always say like, the arts are in danger, journalism's in danger, art's in danger, but don't worry, all these math and engineering jobs are safe. It's like, well, why is that the case? To me, math seems like that would be one of the first things AI would be able to do. That seems like that would be like the easiest thing for AI to duplicate. It's like, hey, just write code. It's like, okay, well, it is code, so that shouldn't be too difficult. But again, this is coming from a guy who is not an AI expert. I will say, though, I do kind of find the prospect of it at least a little bit interesting and exciting. I guess just the idea that it could potentially make at least our lives easier in some way. I saw some interview on TV. This guy, was saying that he believes, and I don't remember who he was, but he was saying that he believes that really it's not necessarily that it's going to just eliminate jobs, but it'll create new jobs. Because when you think about it, a lot of jobs that exist today, probably like what, like I think I saw a statistic once where it said like, I want to say, I'm probably butchering this, but I want to say between 50 to 60% of jobs that exist today didn't even exist like 20 to 30 years ago. And so this person had said that they believe, AI is going to create a whole bunch of new jobs that we can't even consider today because it's just, we don't have AI. AI is not readily available to use. But yeah, I know it's still in its infancy, and I know that it's only going to improve and get better and better. But I guess I'm just kind of curious to see like where things go from here. I know like the writer strike that's going on right now that just happened, I think in the last week or so. I think that was one of the stipulations they had. Because like I think I have not followed it too closely, but I think one of the biggest stipulations of it was because streaming is becoming so prevalent now in entertainment. There's a lot of gray area there, and there's not really a lot of agreement or anything written in stone as far as like how writers are paid for their contribution to shows that are on streaming services. Before it was just television and movies, and it was pretty clear cut. But with streaming becoming so much more popular, a lot of that's kind of been thrown out the window. And I think writers are trying, like the WGA is trying to basically protect themselves and make sure that they can still make a living out there, even in the era of streaming. And I think the other thing also too is stipulations against AI. I think one of the things I'd heard on, I think it was ABC News or something, they'd said that the Writers Guild wants protection against AI so that AI won't be allowed to use certain written article or certain things that are written, like certain scripts or something, so that it can write scripts as well, which does make sense. Yeah, if you're a writer, you're working for a show, you don't want some artificial intelligence that can just look at a script or several scripts that you've written and then just use that to create another show just out of nowhere, like that. To me, I think that makes perfect sense. So yeah, I'm hoping that the Writers Guild is able to figure that out. Like, I know right now a lot of talk shows are on hiatus because of this. They're taking a break, like Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, and stuff like that. I don't watch talk shows. I've never really been a big fan of them, so I'm not worried about that. Like, I want the Writers Guild I want them to get fair compensation for the work that they do, because I know that without writers, TV shows, movies, they don't exist. You need people like that working behind the scenes to make this stuff happen, and not just movies, games. Like, you need people behind the scenes that are working on writing compelling stories and characters and dialogue. Like, without all those moving pieces and those people busting their asses behind the scenes, none of this stuff that we take for granted in entertainment can exist. So I'm really hoping that they are able to get what they want out of this. The Writers Guild, that is. So yeah, I'm rooting for them on this one. But back to my original topic on AI, I guess I'm cautiously optimistic. My thinking is this is going to happen regardless. I mean, I certainly can't stop this. I'm one guy, and I'm not very intelligent when it comes to technology, so I'm in no position to stop this. I do kind of wonder for people who are freaking out about AI potentially, one day going haywire and destroying us. That's one thing that I always hear people say, like, oh, it's going to go all Skynet on us. It's like, okay, well, what are you basing that on? Like, okay, if you're an engineer who works for some high-tech company who knows something that we don't know about AI, like if you've got inside information on something, it's like, please share it with the rest of us, because I want to know about this. But otherwise, I kind of wonder if a lot of those people are just saying that because it's like, did you just watch a movie recently that made you think about that? Did you watch Terminator 2 and now you're worried about that? Or are you actually basing this on some study that you saw? I guess that would be my question there. I don't know. I don't think AI automatically equals end of humanity. I feel like if anything's going to destroy us, it's going to be us. I don't think AI is going to do that. I think we're going to beat AI to that punch. That's the nihilist in me saying that. But I guess I'm cautiously optimistic. I guess I'm more excited about the possibilities AI could bring us. I mean, one thing that definitely sounds cool to me is the idea of an artificial intelligence, especially like in medicine, that could potentially help us find new amazing ways to treat horrible diseases that we can't even think of now. the lives that it'll save down the road. Like, just imagine a machine that you can just step into. It's almost like an MRI with artificial intelligence that can just look at you. It can scan your entire body and just tell you with like 99% accuracy exactly what's wrong with you. As opposed to going to a doctor who, yes, they obviously are highly qualified, highly skilled to diagnose you, but there's always a chance they could make a mistake. There's a chance they could miss something because they're human and because they can't see every single cell in your body. Now you have a machine that can. It can literally look at you from head to toe and tell you, like, this is what's wrong with you. This is the diagnosis. Here is the treatment plan for you, or at least suggestions on what you can do to make it better or to improve your health. I guess I think about stuff like that, and it kind of gives me hope that AI it's not all bad. Like, there is going to be good things that are going to come from it. And I don't think, at least in the time being, I don't think it's going to eliminate the need for humans. Like that one person said, I think what's most likely going to happen is jobs are going to evolve. They're going to change. I think you're still going to need some human interaction there, but I would guess that it's probably going to be more like you're going to need humans acting in sort of like a managerial position, like a supervisory role, kind of overlooking the machines and making sure, like, yes, the machine is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Everything is operating the way it's supposed to be. We're good to go. But I don't know. It's interesting to think about. My hope is that it's not going to completely eliminate the need for humans. I do think that there are just certain, and again, this coming from a guy who's not an expert, I do think that there are certain things that I just don't know if AI can ever truly perfectly replicate, at least not within my lifetime. Like for example, teachers. Teachers are a very important role in any society. You need educators. I would argue that's one of the most important jobs there are. If our children are our future, as so many people claim, then by that logic, teachers should be one of the most, if not the most important jobs out there. They are quite literally educating people who are going to run the country. So yes, it makes sense that you want teachers who are good at their job and know what they're doing. And I feel like to be a great teacher, I think you need to have that human interaction. You have to be able to connect with people and understand them. Like when a student is having trouble understanding something, like, you need that human interaction to be able to help them, to empathize with them, and to try to help them better understand something, especially like from personal experience. Like, I know there were subjects in school that I struggled with, and I feel like if I were an educator, it would be easier for me to relate to a student who was also struggling with similar topics. I'm sure a lot of teachers probably go through that. And counselors, like psychiatrists. I feel like even the most advanced AI system, it still is not going to have that. It's not going to have that human empathy that we have with one another. It's not going to have those connections that we build as human beings from getting to know one another, from talking to each other, and from offering a sympathetic ear. I can't really picture in my mind a time when a machine is going to be able to do that, no matter how perfect it might be. Like, I can't see it ever replacing a person as like a therapist. I just feel like that interpersonal connection that you have with a therapist, there's no way that a machine can replicate that. But I don't know, maybe that's just me. That being said, though, AI is kind of funny. Like, I was kind of dicking around with ChatGPT, and hopefully you don't hear me typing too much. I'm just going to kind of mess with ChatGPT a little bit. I just want to see, let me see. I had it do some pretty dumb shit earlier. Like, it's probably gonna make me log in again. Freaking jackass program. Hang on. OpenAI, you can make me log in. Okay, you didn't. Okay. I hope that my typing doesn't come in too much. My mouse, I'm stupid. My microphone is right above my keyboard, so hopefully you guys don't hear this too much. New chat, you dingus. Go into it. Okay, there we go. It's like loading. All right. I don't need any examples. Get me to the freaking conversation. Okay. What am I gonna say? Okay. Something I'm curious about. I'm gonna ask the chat GPT. Which Pokemon is objectively the best? It's probably gonna give me some BS answer like, oh, it depends on what you want. Let's see. Oh my God, it's it's really going. Okay, no. 3 paragraphs. Damn, I was not expecting that intricate of an answer. Okay. It's difficult to say which Pokemon is objectively the best, as each Pokemon has its own unique strengths and weaknesses. Oh, shut up. Just which one do you want? In the end, the best Pokemon is largely a matter of personal preference and place. Shut up. That's so stupid. Don't give me that. Don't give me a gray answer. Just tell me which one it is. Okay. Which Pokemon starter is the best? which Pokemon starter is the best? I always heard Squirtle was the best because you have a lot of weaknesses to most of the gym leaders. Like Brock, you're weak against Misty, but you are strong against Brock. You'll be strong against, who was the fire Pokemon trainer? I can't remember. Oh wow, this one's more in depth. Similar to the previous question, is that ChatGPT's way of like being smug with me? Like, hey, dumbass, I already gave you the answer, so shut up. Oh, I didn't specify which game. Damn it. Okay. Each starter Pokemon has its own unique strengths and weaknesses. They are all designed to be relatively balanced in terms of gameplay. Generally, grass-type starters tend to have an advantage early in the game as they are effective against the first few gyms. I guess that's true. I'm only going off Gen 1, like Red and Blue, but Bulbasaur was good against Brock and Misty. But he sucked against Lieutenant Surge. That being said, some popular starter Pokemon include Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Pikachu from Yellow version. Ultimately, same thing. Ultimately, the best one depends on which one you want. Shut up. Okay. What's another interesting one? I typed in like who would win Goku versus Superman, and it pretty much gave the same answer. Like it would ultimately depend on like who the creators would agree on would win in the fight. It's like whatever. Let's see. I'm trying to think of something stupid I can tell. Like I like trying to mess with ChatGPT and see if I can break it. Like, let me see. I got an idea. Okay. Okay. Tell me a story about Squirtle. I can't spell. Squirtle showing up in the... Or no, Squirtle befriending Paul Atreides. Is that how you spell Atreides? In Dune. Let's see. There. Oh, it auto-corrected to Squirrel. Damn it. There's no squirrel befriending Paul Atreides in Dune. You dumbass. I would love it if it said that. There is no squirrel who befriends Paul Atreides in Dune, you dipshit. Dune is a science fiction novel written by Frank Herbert, which takes place on the desert planet Arrakis and follows the story of Paul Atreides. I misplaced the I and the E. Okay. While Dune features a variety of animals, including the iconic giant sandworms, there is no mention of squirrels in the novel and no instance of Paul befriending a squirrel. However, there are many other fascinating, complex creatures and themes in Dune that make it a compelling read. It's like, it's being nice, but basically what the subtext is it's saying there's no squirrel in Dune, you dumbass. Okay. Tell me a story about Squirtle befriending Paul Atreides in Dune. Okay. Sure. I love that. Sure. Okay. Okay. Here's a story about Squirtle befriending Paul Atreides in Dune. Oh my god, it's still going. Oh my god, here we go. Wow, okay. Should I read all this for the podcast? Okay, it stopped. Looks like it's 5 short paragraphs. Okay. Yeah, why not? How much time do we have? I'm only going to try to do so much tonight. I don't want to do too much. So I'll do this and maybe like one more story. I might have to do this more often on the podcast. This is turning into be more fun than I thought it would be. Okay. As Paul Atreides trekked across the harsh desert landscape of Arrakis, he struggled to survive against the harsh conditions and constant threat of danger. One day as he stumbled upon an oasis, he saw a small blue creature perched atop a rock. It was a Squirtle, a water-type Pokemon, and Paul was surprised to see such a creature in the middle of the desert. At first, Paul was wary of the Squirtle, but as he approached it, he saw it was friendly and appeared to be in distress. It had a deep cut on its leg and was clearly in need of help. Paul took a pity on the creature and used his limited medical knowledge to tend to its wound. Did he know how to do stuff like that? I can't remember. Over time, Paul and Squirtle formed a bond. The Squirtle would follow Paul on his travels, providing him with valuable companionship and support. The creature proved to be a useful ally, helping Paul find sources of water and even defending him from hostile creatures that roam the desert. Man, I kind of like this idea for a story. Okay, can we... we'll have to maybe keep an eye on this. As their friendship grew, Paul began to see the Squirtle as more than just a Pokemon. He recognized the intelligence and loyalty of the creature and began to see it as a true companion. The Squirtle, for its part, seemed to sense Paul's emotional state and would often sit with him in quiet contemplation, as if offering its own form of emotional support. I'm picturing every scene in Dune 2021, but with Squirtle following Paul around. Oh my god, I love it. In the end, Paul's bond with the Squirtle helped him survive the harsh conditions of Arrakis and gave him a sense of purpose and connection that he had not felt before. Though he eventually left the planet and returned to his own world, he carried with him the memory of his friendship with the Squirtle and the lessons he learned about the power of companionship and the bonds that can form between unlikely allies. Okay, that's kind of a generic story. I kind of like that, though. Okay, I'm trying to think. Okay, even better. Okay. Tell me a story about Paul Atreides befriending Frieza. I don't know where that came from. I just want to see what he would say. I just figured being in space. Okay. I'm sorry, but it's unlikely that Paul Atreides would befriend Frieza, as Frieza is a character from the Dragon Ball anime and manga series. Oh, that didn't stop you with Squirtle, you jackass. From the Dragon Ball anime and manga series, which take place in a completely different universe from Dune. Oh my god, it goes into so much detail. Additionally, Frieza is a notorious villain who was responsible for countless atrocities, including the destruction of entire planets and the genocide of entire races. Paul Atreides, on the other hand, is a hero who fights for justice and seeks to overthrow corrupt systems of power. While unlikely, if we were to imagine a scenario where Paul Atreides befriended Frieza, it would likely involve Frieza having a change of heart and renouncing his evil ways. Perhaps he would be impressed by Paul's strength and sense of honor and seek to ally himself with him in the fight against greater threats. No, I don't think he would. However, given Frieza's history of violence and treachery, it's hard to imagine him ever truly becoming a friend of Paul or anyone else. In the end, it's important to remember that friendship should be based on mutual trust, respect, and shared values. Not all characters are capable of embodying those ideals. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Okay, that was kind of a short one. I'm going to try one more time. Let's get off the Dune subject. What would be something else fun? Let's see. Okay, 2 villains. Let's try this. Tell me a story about Frieza filing his space taxes. I mean, he's an emperor. He's got to file taxes. Come on. Give me something. It's doing it. Oh my god, yes. Here's a story about Frieza filing his space taxes. Oh my god. Okay, let me get a drink of water. Oh my god, it's still going. Oh my god, this is amazing. Okay. Okay. Frieza, the notorious space tyrant, was sitting on his throne room on his flagship, the Death Ball. Was that what it was called? I don't remember. Okay. As he gazed out at the stars, he sighed heavily. Another year, another round of space taxes. I love the idea of Frieza dreading having to pay taxes. Frieza knew that filing space taxes was a necessary evil. As a ruler of a vast intergalactic empire, he had to pay for his fair share of taxes to support the various space governments and services that kept his empire running smoothly. But that didn't mean he enjoyed it. With a grumble, Frieza summoned his financial advisor, a small alien creature with large glasses and a pocket protector. The advisor scurried into the throne room carrying a stack of paperwork. Frieza glared at the paperwork. It was filled with all sorts of complicated calculations and jargon that he barely understood. "Can't you just take care of this for me?" he demanded. The financial advisor shook his head. "I'm afraid not, Lord Frieza. As the ruler of the Empire, you must sign off on all tax filings personally." With a resigned sigh, Frieza began to review the paperwork. It was a tedious process filled with endless numbers and formulas, but to his surprise, Frieza found that he was actually enjoying the challenge. I don't think he would ever do that. I feel like he would immediately kill anybody who bored him with stuff like that. Anyways, there was something satisfying about figuring out the best ways to minimize his tax burden and maximize his empire's profits. By the time he had finished, Frieza felt a sense of pride in his work. He had successfully filed his space taxes and had even managed to find a few loopholes that would save him some money in the long run. As he watched his advisor scurry off to deliver the paperwork to the appropriate authorities, Frieza couldn't help but smile to himself. Maybe filing taxes wasn't so bad after all. It's like, no, it sucks. Okay, it didn't end quite as well as I was hoping, but that was still great. Space taxes. Okay, that's great. I may have to make this maybe a regular thing. Maybe not every podcast, but maybe just every once in a while I might just have to fuck around with this stuff and just see what I can come up with. Oh, that's great. All right, guys, I think that's going to conclude tonight's episode. Once again, I am on Anchor, Spotify, and YouTube. If you like what you heard, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. Later.